Happy Monday. Happy Monday. What's up? Another week has flown by. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Of course, as soon as we hit the button, there goes the dog like clockwork. I think my wife's in the yard, so I might have to bear through her barking a little bit there. But first thing we're going to talk about tonight's Walker White, obviously. Most of you that follow me know that when I think Clemson's about to get a commitment, I give a little sign hinting that one's coming. And I want to give a little bit of background on what goes into that. It's not just me, guessing or a hunch or anything like that. If you see me throw that sign up, I've usually got a reason to. So it's not something I do lightly. And, it's something that has worked very well for me since I started doing it. Never missed on one yet until now with White. I'm sure all of you that are in this Facebook group, I don't remember if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I put it out there. I put it out on Twitter a day later. But, I was extremely confident that Clemson was going to land Walker White. Walker White. I remained that way Wednesday. I was still confident Thursday, into Thursday night, into Friday morning. It wasn't until about, I think he went live. His announcement went live at 3:15. It was about 5 minutes before he went live when I found out that it probably wasn't going to be Clemson. And I didn't find out for sure until when he was talking because, he talked for a little while. So, was bound to be wrong at some point. It's not going to stop me from making projections or anything like that in the future. Trash those shades. Got a new pair. We'll see what kind of magic's in those. And we'll also have to see where Clemson turns to now at quarterback in 2024. You missed on DJ Lagway. You've now missed on Walker White. Jaden Davis has been trending away from you. It looks like Michigan, they've been considered the favorite for a while. Looks like North Carolina's maybe getting back into this thing. So let's see what happens with him. But I think if Jaden Davis really wanted to go to Clemson, he would already be committed by now. That's just the way I look at it. He's been camping at Clemson forever. He knows everything about the school. There's nothing new. It just is what it is. Clemson's not for everybody. Maybe Davis just feels like it's not the best fit for him. I don't know. I just don't see it happening. So he's the only uncommitted quarterback with an offer. So you start looking at maybe who Clemson might offer next. And obviously, the first guy that comes to mind is Jake Merklinger. He's another top 10 quarterback, probably top 100, top 150 talent overall, depending on where you look. Offers starting to pile up for this kid, though, and he's, it looks like he might be leaning a little towards Tennessee. He worked out at Dabo Swinney's camp last summer, visited for, I think it was the North Carolina State game over the season. So, he's on Clemson's radar. The coaches over, they've been in contact with him. Garrett Riley made a stop by his high school last month. It's not like they're not recruiting the kid. He just hasn't gotten the offer yet. I say yet. He's a candidate, I think, for the next offer. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm not so sure one's going to go out immediately. The big question is, can Clemson gain any traction with him now because they're kind of late to the game? Yeah, right here, like my man Beef saying right here. Clemson might be a little late to the game here. I was a little surprised they didn't offer him after they missed on Lagway. That's absolutely where I thought they were going to go with the next offer. And they kind of went in a different direction with Walker White. So this is why I think we probably see Clemson sit tight for a little while. Garrett Riley's just, getting situated into his new role. And he's probably going to have a lot of input on the next guy that gets offered. Maybe it takes him a little while to decide on who that guy is. There's a lot of different ways you could go here. I also think it's worth keeping an eye on Marcus Davila out, the TCU commit. Now, Clemson's obviously not going to actively recruit him. Garrett Riley and Sonny Dykes, they have a very close relationship. Riley's not going to do that to Sonny Dykes. If Davila was to open things back up, all bets are off. Davila looks like he was Riley's guy. Not so sure he's their new offensive coordinator's guy, who's Kendall Briles. They hired him away from Arkansas. He brought in, I know he brought in one quarterback. I think his name was Michael Hawkins for TCU's Elite Junior Day. And Davila's only been committed for about a month. He committed right before Riley left for Clemson. So we'll see if Davila opens things back up. Maybe he doesn't stay committed to TCU for very long since they're flirting with some other guys. And it seems like Briles has a preference for somebody else. Now, if he decommits, does Clemson look in that direction? I have no idea. I just think he's a name worth monitoring. Outside of that, I don't know what's going to happen. We're in a dead period now. I wouldn't expect anything. I'm not so sure I expect anything to happen in the immediate future. I could see them sitting tight for a while and maybe getting into the spring, early summer. Maybe they look at some guys at camp, see who comes in at camp and works out for the staff. I don't know. I don't necessarily think quarterback's this big position of need in 2024. Obviously, the coaching staff doesn't agree with that because they've taken some pretty big swings on guys here early in this cycle. Maybe they want somebody that's going to be able to compete with Chris Fazzina and push him, after Klubnik leaves, and they prefer to have a guy that's already been here a year. I don't know. That's the way it kind of looks to me. If you don't get one in 2024, you absolutely got to have one in 2025. The big name to know in the future is Juju Lewis, the 2026 kid. Obviously, Clemson's not offering kids in the 2026 class yet. They're not even offering 2025 kids yet. I did reach out to Juju today to see if he planned on visiting Clemson in the spring or working out at Dabo's high school camps this year because he worked out last year. And, man, he is good. He is going to be probably the top player in the 2026 class. He is that good. He told me today he was probably going to be more focused on visiting schools this spring that he's already got offers from and didn't know if he was going to work out at camp again or not. This is a kid everybody's already on. I mean, he's that good. 2026. I know he's young, but he's that good. Or he looks to be that good. So Jake Merkingler, Marcos Davila, that's a couple of names I would keep an eye on, just store it away in the back of your head as we move forward. Again, I'm not sure Clemson's going to make any immediate move. I think they might sit tight, let some things play out, let Garrett Riley do some evaluating. Again, we're in a dead period right now, so obviously can't do any evaluating right now. But, after the dead period's over, the only thing you can do right now is text and phone calls. You can't do anything face-to-face. You can't go visit kids' high schools or anything like that. We'll see how it plays out. Again, I don't think quarterback's this dire need in 2024. I think having Klubnik come in 2022, Vizina come in 2023, I think that kind of hurts your ability to attract a big-time guy in 2024. I think that's part of why White went to Auburn. I get conflicting stories on that. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds on the why, but I've got at least one source that tells me that at least played a little bit of a part. So, I look at it this way. He always knew what the depth chart was at Clemson. He knew it before he came to visit. He knew it before he started telling the coaching staff what they wanted to hear. How close he was to actually committing to Clemson, I don't know. I just know as of late Thursday night, early Friday morning, the staff was confident they were going to get him. So, and I just don't see depth chart having that big of an impact on somebody that late in the process. Just me. I'm just throwing that out there. Where do you go for offensive linemen if you miss on Franks? Clemson wants to take 4, so they're going to have to expand the board at some point. Jamison Riggs is the guy right now. Jamison Riggs is a guy I'd keep. He's already got an offer, but he's a guy I think Clemson's in good shape with. Sounds like Franks is kind of literally conflicted about what he wants to do. There was some thought that he was going to commit this week. Doesn't sound like that's going to happen. Maybe not even this month. So it sounds like he's really struggling with this decision. Absolutely was considered a strong Clemson lean at one point. Almost pulled the trigger and committed late last year. Decided to hold off, went and did some more visits. South Carolina's absolutely in it. He might even be leaning that way. It's hard to tell with him. I still think he's got some people in his camp that would absolutely prefer him going to Clemson. He's got some former teammates that's on the Clemson roster. He's got a former teammate he's got a current teammate that is committed to South Carolina right now, Mazio Bennett. So, both schools got some things going for them. But if you miss on him, you're going to have to expand the board. And right now, the 2 top names I would look at these guys are already on the board. There were Blake Frazier, Jamison Riggs. I don't know how in it Clemson really is with Frazier, but I do believe they are in the thick of it with Riggs. But if you're going to take 4, you got to expand the board. And who they decide to hand those offers to next, I don't know. All I could do is just guess, and there's a bunch of different ways you could go with that. It might be. His pushing his decision back might be a good sign. I don't know. Certainly can't hurt because, like I said, we're in a dead period right now. You can't go talk to him face to face. You can text him. I'm not sure what the limitations are on, the phone calls and the texts and stuff during the dead period. I know you can do it some. I'm not sure exactly how much. But, it certainly can't hurt that he's taking a little bit longer to decide. This is something that South Carolina is using against Clemson in their recruitment. They say, you look at Frank's former teammate Colin Sadler, who was a far more highly rated recruit coming out of high school than Blake Franks is. Hey, look, Sadler had the red shirt last year. You're going to have to red shirt. You can come here and get immediate playing time. Yeah, they are absolutely selling him on that. Absolutely. Make no mistake. It's one of their biggest selling points. Does he have a specific type QB he wants for his offense? I would say he wants a dual threat guy, a guy that can beat you with his arm, who's got the arm to take the top off of defense, and a guy that can move around, a mobile quarterback. He needs a true dual threat guy. Don't think DJ Uiagalelei. Somebody like Klubnik, somebody like, Vizina. Even though Vizina's not what I would call a true dual threat quarterback. He's athletic enough and mobile enough to get outside the pocket, make plays with his legs. You can use him in the running game and that kind of stuff. But that's the kind of QB I see Garrett Riley needing for his offense. You need a guy that can do a little bit of everything. You absolutely don't want him. You don't want him one-dimensional. We've seen a Clemson offense with a quarterback that really lacks the ability to be a difference maker in the running game. We've seen it the past 2 years. DJ was serviceable at times, at best. And Clemson needs a guy that can be a difference maker with his legs. Wide receivers in 2024. The two kids that got the first offers, Alex Taylor, Jonathan Paylor, both from North Carolina. Got Braylon Staley from right here in South Carolina, Aiken, TJ Moore. Those are the four big names. They've offered Ryan Wingo. He's a 5-star kid. Not a lot of tracks in there. It doesn't sound like. If you get a class of 3 receivers and it's TJ Moore, Braylon Staley, and one of either Taylor or Paylor, it's hard to turn your nose up at that. There's some talk that Taylor and Paylor want to play together at the next level, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think Clemson's in fantastic shape with Alex Taylor. I think they're in pretty good shape with Paylor too. Taylor's a bigger guy, 6'2", not the fastest of guys, bigger body type, more of a possession guy. Paylor's a smaller, faster, shiftier guy. And Braylon Staley's a bigger body guy. I want to say he's a bigger body guy. And TJ Moore is a dynamic receiver. So if you can land 3 out of those 4, you've done pretty good. Taylor and Staley were the 2 that were on hand for Elite Junior Day. I want to say Paylor had a scheduling conflict and couldn't come, and he's probably going to be here in the spring sometime. We'll see about TJ Moore. I fully expect him to visit in the spring too. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We had to throw those. I had to throw those shades out. They just lost their magic. Gonna have to find a new pair. No worries, I'll find some. Heaven Schuler Brown, top of the board at defensive tackle. He was at Elite Junior Day. I still think I would absolutely call Clemson the favorite for him right now. Just not sure when his recruitment is going to wind down. I think we're starting to near the finish line. I just don't think we're there yet. It's kind of one of those deals where it's kind of slow and steady wins the race. But if you could come on, Clemson's going to take 2 defensive tackles in this class after taking 3 in the last cycle. You come away with Chant Thompson and Schuler, you've hit a home run. And there's no other way to say it. They just keep restocking that defensive line. But I really like where the Clemson sits with Schuler Brown right now. Just gotta play the patience game. You know what? I really should have went back and looked at how to pronounce his name after, because I have been butchering it, man. I have been butchering it. Hold on for a minute. Let me see if I can pull this thing up here. Because I got him to tell me how to say it properly. It's Ujamame. Ujamame. He's the guy, man, right now. He is the guy. And proximity is absolutely going to play a factor. Make no mistake, Mama's very busy. She doesn't even get to go on many of his visits with him because she's always working. He told me when I talked to him last week that he was hoping to get her here for the spring or in March because she was not even been able to get to Clemson yet, and he wanted her to see it. But, yeah, proximity is going to play a very big factor with him. That's why I think Georgia Tech and Clemson are the 2 schools. Florida State just offered him. The offers keep coming in. But if you're not close to home with him, I think you're going to miss out. I'm not sure. He's from North Cobb. I'm not exactly sure exactly how far that is from where he is. Let's see. Distance between Cobb, Georgia, and Clemson, South Carolina. 2 hours, 2+ hours. So, I still think Clemson's in good shape with him. That's the only thing Georgia Tech's got on Clemson right now is proximity. And I think in the end, if Clemson can overcome that, they'll end up landing him. Question becomes, how long do they wait on him? He told me that they're not pressuring him into making any commitment. They're remaining patient with him because they know that his mom's not been able to make it there. So there's no rush. But at some point, you got to say, hey, it's now or never because you're our only guy. We hadn't even offered anybody else. And if they were to move on, I have no idea who they would target next. I honestly don't. That's how meticulous they are. I have not heard one legitimate name. How many linebackers? I want to say 3 in this class. 2 to 3. I want to say 2 or either 3. I can't remember right off the top of my head. If you lose, because you could potentially lose Carter, Trotter. You're already a body short, so I could see them taking as many as 3. I can absolutely see Peter Woods playing defensive end some this year. He strikes me as the Christian Wilkins type guy. You can play him inside, you can play him outside. And with Clemson looking like they're going to have some depth issues there, yeah, I think we could easily see Peter Woods playing some on the outside. I think TJ Parker is going to have an opportunity at some early playing time. If I were picking 2 guys on the defense, 2 freshmen to watch out for, those would be the top 2 names, with Vic Burley being a close third. Yeah, I saw the Nicholas Harbor video. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. Catch me in private one day. KJ Bolden, he was at junior day. Wait a minute, or is he the one? One of them couldn't make it. That might have been Matthews. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, Bolden was at junior day. It was Matthews that was a late scratch. But if you had to ask me which one of those guys I think Clemson has a better shot at landing between KJ Bolden, Mike Matthews, I'm going with Mike Matthews. I think the culture resonates with Matthews a little bit more so than Bolden. And I'm not saying Bolden doesn't absolutely love Clemson. I think he does. But I also think he loves Georgia and Ohio State. I mean, I think he likes a lot of things about a lot of different schools. And I would put Clemson in his top group, but I wouldn't put them at the top. I'd probably put Ohio State and Georgia ahead of Clemson right now. I really like their chances with Mike Matthews more so than I do KJ Bolden. As we sit here today in February, now, like we saw last Friday, when we talking about recruiting, things change in an instant. When I got that text Friday afternoon telling me that White was going to Auburn, I was floored. I could not believe it. I mean, it takes a lot to surprise me in the recruiting world these days, and I was genuinely surprised. I was caught off guard. So as we sit here today, I just based off the feedback I get from, after some of the visits, I just think Clemson has a better shot at landing Mike Matthews than KJ Bolden. Now, what would be a grand slam would be snagging both those guys because you're not going to turn one away. Harbor will transfer in a year. Could be. Could be. It's going to be. South Carolina has been very aggressive with NIL and that type of stuff, and it is going to be hard to keep up the pace they have been at. They have been operating at in the last couple months. And I just put it like that. They don't have these. I know they're in a big time SEC school, but they don't have these pits of money. They're like any other school. They have to raise that stuff. It has to come from your donors, and it's hard to get your donors to donate to the, let's say, the Gamecock Club or IPTAY and the collectives, because that's what the schools are asking for now. You need to donate to both, not just one, both. That's what it takes to compete. And South Carolina has absolutely been very aggressive with NIL. And it sounds like they paid a ton of money to get Rattler to come back. Absolutely played a role in getting Harbor away from Oregon. How much? I don't know. I have no idea. But it was a factor. And if you're out here winning kids over from Phil Knight and Mikey in Oregon, you're writing big checks. And it'll be hard to keep that pace up. Let's put it like that. You got to keep going back and asking for more. Keep going back and asking for more. Money does talk. Absolutely. It's absolutely helped South Carolina in this recruiting cycle. It has absolutely helped Florida State in this recruiting cycle. Florida State's been very aggressive, especially in the portal. I've got one source that's told me Florida State's going all in on this portal class. That they've Norvell's kind of had issues gaining a whole lot of traction with high school recruits. They're not recruiting at the level with the high school kids that he wants to recruit at. So they are hoping that investment that they have made in those portal players this season translates into a big season on the field, and they can use that to help with the high school recruits and maybe not have to hit the portal so hard in the future, because that's not a way to build a program. You can't just keep raiding, depending on the portal for a dozen players every single season. At some point, you got to develop some guys. Yeah, Darian Mayo is a very interesting one. He is long. He is athletic. He's already 250 pounds, but he is 6'7". He's not one of your more highly rated guys. I think he's not even rated in the top 30 among ends, but he's very intriguing. He looks like he's got a lot of potential. With the right coaching, who knows what you can mold that talent into. Yeah, you wouldn't get many 5 stars with that money. Probably you wouldn't get any 5 stars. We'd have to go back to recruiting no stars. The transfer from Missouri. Is that the one they couldn't get into school a couple of weeks ago? Because I don't think that had anything to do with NIL. If we're talking about the same kid, I'd have to see his name. But I think he went to Missouri. But yeah, no, they couldn't get him in. They couldn't get him in school. It was by all accounts, best I can tell, it was a political thing, actually. And I don't know how you go after a guy in the portal that you don't already know you can get into school. But there was a red flag or something in his background that got flagged, and they didn't want to admit him. That one wasn't about money. It sounds like the kid kind of got screwed in that deal. Totally agree. Florida State should be the heck. We'll see what happens in the summertime when it comes time for the media polls to come out and stuff. They might be voted the favorite to win the ACC this year. We'll see. They're getting all the love right now, and kind of deservedly so. They got all those guys to come back. Jordan Travis, very experienced quarterback. There is talent on that roster. They, fortunately for Clemson, they got to come to Death Valley this year. Unfortunate for Clemson, to win the ACC, you might have to beat those guys 2 times this year, unlike in the past. Yeah, I got no comment on that other than to say it's a little low. A little low. Actually, a lot low from what I was told anyways. I think that's absolutely a valid point. Another thing is if you're spending all this money to bring in guys out the portal, it could also hurt you with some guys on your roster, man. They see what you're doing to bring these other guys in, and they're getting more money than the guys already there that have put in the time. I think that played a little bit into a couple of those guys transferring from South Carolina. That's just me kind of speculating and reading between the lines based on a couple of things I heard. But, I think, South Carolina lost a couple of starters to the portal. How you lose starters to the portal? How does Clemson keep up with Florida State? You got that backwards. Florida State's trying to keep up with Clemson, but first thing, Florida State needs to beat Clemson. They haven't done it in how many years? That would be a good starting point. Let's see Florida State beat Clemson first. If you're talking about keeping up with Florida State. Oh, I got a feeling I know who asked me that. Oh, of course. Florida State, if Florida State were to be picked to win the ACC, who knows? Maybe we see some scorched earth Dabo, man, because Dabo is at his best when he can use that underdog role as a motivating factor, and he knows how to push those buttons. And I think there's been times over the past 2, 3, 4 years that he's tried to use that when it didn't really apply, and it kind of falls a little bit flat when it doesn't apply. But if you're picked to finish behind Florida State in the ACC this year, holy crap, man, that would be some kind of bulletin board material for Dabo to use. Make no mistake, and I think he is at his best when he can portray Clemson and his program as the underdog, as the overlooked guy, as the guy that gets no respect. That's when Dabo's been at his best. No, actively recruiting the portal every year is not the way to build a program. And I don't think South Carolina is really trying to build theirs that way. I think they're trying to start it off that way. We'll see what happens with the rest of their 2024 class. They're off to a pretty good start, though. They've got a couple of really good ones. As much as I don't think Cam Pringle was a good fit at Clemson, I think he's a fantastic. He's going to be a fantastic player, and he's an absolute steal for those guys. I think this statement really applies to Florida State, though. They just haven't been able to gain any traction with the high school guys, and it has caused Mike Norvell to have to hit the portal harder than he wants to. And again, I think they've gone all in on this portal class. I have been told they emptied the coffers. So, and they're hoping that doing so will turn into so much success this coming season that they could, use that success to help start attracting more of the high school kids so they don't have to hit the portal as hard. Because you can't build a program going to the portal every single year for 10, 11, 12 players. Yeah, Kirby tried to use the underdog role this year too, and it sounded as silly coming from him as it did as a couple of times coming from Dabo in the past. That they have some of those too. Absolutely. FSU has some financial issues. They're not in the most fluid state. I want to say a couple of their biggest donors have passed on in the past few years, and they've had some problems making up some of that lost money. But I think that was Florida State I was told that about anyways. Basketball. Clemson's got to win Saturday at North Carolina. They kind of put themselves in this position by losing on the road the other night. That was at Boston College. I thought Boston College played fantastic in that game. I thought they had an excellent defensive game plan, and it really affected the way Clemson played, and they never responded. They just kind of crapped the bed. But when you drop that game and then turn around and lose to Miami, you kind of puts you in a must-win situation against North Carolina. We'll see how they respond. They've got the whole week off. You got everybody back. They need to get Alex Hemingway going big time. But the biggest thing they need is for Chase Hunter to come out of that shooting slump because, man, he is ice cold right now. He started the season off so hot. He was so good over those, the first part of the season, and he is really cooled off, and he is struggling from the perimeter. He needs to find his shot. But that's going to be, it's in Chapel Hill. How many times has Clemson won up there? It's not going to be easy. Yeah, not having Brevin Galloway absolutely hurt against Boston College. No doubt about it. He's one of the guys that makes that team go. And when Clemson is not shooting the ball well, their inability to rebound really starts to get highlighted. It doesn't stand out as much when they're shooting the ball better because they're not having to box out on the offensive glass. But this Clemson team has not been a very good rebounding team all season. I remember being at the game in Columbia when they lost to South Carolina, and South Carolina killed them on the boards. And it's been a problem for the most part ever since. It's just not a very physical team. And when you're not hitting shots, you need to rely on your rebounding more. And it's just not a very good rebounding team right now. Nah, Clemson is not over in Chapel Hill anymore. No, I think Galloway's done after this year. No, I don't have any problems with the way Chase Hunter runs the floor most of the time. Is he a true point guard? Nah. But he's been a pretty decent floor general. He just needs to find his shot, man. He's got to find his shot. Because he is ice cold, and he's been in a prolonged shooting slump. Hopefully they can get Alex Hemingway going and kind of offset some of that, because I'm not, Hunter's shooting slump has been going on so long. I'm not sure he's ever coming out of it, but the only way to come out of a shooting slump is to keep shooting. So, he's got to keep heaving them up there. Yeah, I thought they got a little three happy for a little while there against Miami too. Against Boston College for a little while too. I thought they got a little three happy. But in both of those games, I didn't think PJ Hall played very well up in BC. I forget his name, but BC's big man was bigger and stronger, and I think he kind of pushed PJ around a little bit. And when he's off and Hunter Tyson's not dominating and nobody's hitting consistently from the outside, it's going to spell disaster. But yeah, I thought they had gotten three happy in the last two games, at least for stretches anyways. Talked to Drew last week. Anybody that thought him getting an offer from Clemson would speed up his timeline and he'd jump right on board, that's not the way it's going to play out. He's still going to take his time. He's got some visits he wants to take. Venables wants him at Oklahoma. He wants to go check out. I know Vanderbilt was one of the schools. He told me there was somebody else too. Let's see if I can find it right quick here. Oh, actually, UCF was one of the schools he mentioned to me he wanted to go see. Having said all that, I still feel good about Clemson's chances here. The first time I've had a couple conversations with him, and the first time I talked with him, he was talked to Wade about this too after the Orange Bowl. So both of them were extremely excited about the possibility of the two playing together. I think it's something they've talked about for a long time. Basically what I'm saying is I wouldn't take him letting the process play out as a bad sign. I think Clemson's in excellent shape with him. Not saying they're going to end up landing him, because I think there's still ways to go with him. But I think they're in as good a shape as anybody else right now. Absolutely. The shades have been trashed. Got a new pair. I see how much magic they got in them. Those other ones served me well. Served me very well. Let me down last week, though. They let me down. I talked a little bit about this at the top. When I throw those things out there, for those that weren't here at the beginning, that's not me making a guess or I guess we can call it a projection. But I have guidelines, I guess is the way to say it. There are things that have to happen before I would throw those things out there. I don't just throw them out there because I feel good about a guy's chance, Clemson's chances of landing a guy. I throw them out there when I think I know a commitment is coming. That's when I throw them out there. And again, that's not just a hunch or a feeling or a guess. It's based off sources and talking to people. And I mean, yeah, again, I guess we can call it a projection, but it's not a guess. It's not just a hunch, is what I'm trying to say. There are a standard that has to be hit before I will throw those things out there. And all those were hit last week. Again, I mean, as late as late Thursday night, early Friday morning, I still was very confident Clemson was going to land Walker White. I found out 5 minutes before he went live that he was probably going to Auburn, and I found out for sure after he started talking that he was going to Auburn. So, it just don't ever know in recruiting, man. Things can change on a whim. Thursday night, baseball preview, Thursday night. Me and the guys over at Sluggo, we're going to talk nothing but baseball. We'll get you a time. I'm not sure what time that's going to be yet. We haven't decided. I told Marty today I was good with any time, so we'll let you know in the next day or two. But look for that Thursday night. We're going to do a baseball-specific show every Thursday. We're going to try to do one every Thursday. Who do I think commits next? This is just me speculating. I don't know anything about a potential commitment coming. I don't know. This is not a projection. Let me so get all that out of the way first. But if you ask me who I think might be the next to jump on board, give me the running back. Give me the running back. All right, I think we hit on everything. It's already been almost an hour. Appreciate all y'all tuning in again. Look for us Thursday night, all you baseball fans. Marty, Casey, myself, we're going to dive into some Clemson baseball best we can before the season starts. Maybe talk about who might be in the rotation, who's playing where, those kinds of things. I've been to a couple of scrimmages. I had a buddy at a scrimmage yesterday, so I got a little feedback on what happened yesterday. So if you're a baseball fan and you're looking for some baseball-specific stuff, look for us. We're going to be on every Thursday night. Or, again, we're going to try to do it every Thursday night. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. The recruiting mailbag, allclemsontigers.com. Be out tomorrow probably. So if you were one of the ones that asked questions, look for that tomorrow. Check out all the rest of our stuff there. Allclemsontigers.com. Talk to y'all next Monday.